Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive right into the exact step-by-step procedures for autopilot and yaw damper disengagements in the Bombardier Q400. Look, if you're operating this machine, there's absolutely no room for hesitation when these systems drop offline. So we are breaking down the official manual directly to give you the precise sequences you need to know. We're not going to add a single step, and we're definitely not skipping any either. By the end of this, you'll have a crystal clear mental framework to handle these situations flawlessly.
Before we jump into the hot seat, let's just quickly ground ourselves in the environment. Your primary flight display, the PFD, is your central source of truth in the Q400 cockpit. When things change with your automatic flight control systems, the PFD is exactly where you're going to see those critical alerts flash, usually right alongside a glaring red AP disconnect light. That's your cue. Recognizing exactly where to look is always that crucial first step to reacting correctly.
All right, here's our flight plan for this explainer. 1. AP or AP/YD disengaged. 2. Yaw damper disengaged. 3. Autopilot fail procedure. 4. AP and YD failures. And 5. Q400 memory tricks. Let's get to it.
Starting off with Section 1. AP or AP/YD disengaged, handling automatic autopilot disengagement. Okay, picture yourself in the flight deck. Suddenly, right there on your PFD, you see the text AP disengaged or AP/YD disengaged flashing aggressively at you, and it's accompanied by that red AP deseng light. The autopilot has automatically dropped offline. Obviously, this is not a drill, and it requires an immediate, deliberate reaction from you to maintain control and silence those warnings.
So, here is your required sequence straight from the book. Step 1, press AP dis to cancel the alerts. Step 2, you have to manually adjust your pitch, aileron, and rudder trim as necessary to actually fly the aircraft. Step 3, do not engage the autopilot or yaw damper. You just have to hold off and wait. And finally, Step 4, if the associated failure message goes out, well then you can go ahead and engage the autopilot as required. You need to follow this sequence exactly. Don't add steps, and for sure, don't skip any.
Moving on to Section 2, yaw damper disengaged. This is for when only the yaw damper drops out.
In this specific scenario, your PFD is going to display a flashing YD disengaged message. Now, what's really vital to note here is that the autopilot hasn't dropped out. Only the yaw damper has automatically disengaged. So this specific flashing message is your trigger for a slightly different set of precise actions.
Notice the crucial difference in these steps. You still start by pressing AP dis to cancel the alerts, just like before. But for Step 2, because it's only the yaw damper, you only need to adjust the rudder trim as necessary. Makes sense, right? Step 3, again, do not engage the autopilot or yaw damper. And Step 4, if the message goes out, you can engage the yaw damper as required. Honestly, it's a beautifully logical progression from that first scenario.
Okay, Section 3, autopilot fail procedure, dealing with an inoperative system.
Now, here is where the rules of engagement shift from a simple disengagement to a full-blown system failure. When the system is actually inoperative, you'll see the words AP fail completely locked onto your PFD. Notice there's no flashing disengaged message here. The system is flat out telling you that it has failed.
And because this system has actually failed, your required procedure here is incredibly short. Step 1, do not attempt to engage the autopilot. Just fly the plane. Step 2, if the message goes out, then you can engage the autopilot as required. Did you catch what's missing there? There's literally no instruction to press a button to cancel alerts or to explicitly adjust trim in this specific checklist. You just keep your hands off the engagement buttons and you wait.
Which brings us to Section 4, AP and YD failures, the complete and operative status. If things really just aren't going your way today, this joint message, AP/YD fail, is going to pop up on the PFD. This tells you immediately, with zero ambiguity, that both the autopilot and the yaw damper systems are inoperative at the exact same time. Just like the isolated AP failure we literally just looked at, the procedure here is strictly hands-off. Step 1, do not engage the autopilot or the yaw damper, period. Step 2, if the message goes out, you may engage the autopilot or yaw damper as required. It is absolutely vital to adhere purely to these steps without complicating the procedure. Less is more here.
All right, the final part, Section 5, Q400 memory tricks, the cockpit action-reaction framework. To make memorizing these sequences totally effortless, let's break down some tricks to mentally link all these procedures together. We want this stuff to be second nature when you're up there.
First up is what we like to call the disengage versus fail rule.
So if the PFD message says disengaged, you must take physical action. You press ASP dis to cancel the alerts, and you adjust your trims. But if the message says fail, your rule is simply to wait. You do not engage the system unless the message clears. So think, action for disengage, wait for fail. Keep that mental link strong and you're halfway there.
Next up is the trim trick, and honestly, this one is incredibly satisfying and logical. When you're doing your physical actions for a disengaged message, how do you remember exactly which trims to adjust? Well, it's easy. The autopilot controls all axes of flight, right? So if it drops out, you must adjust the pitch, aileron, and rudder trim. But the yaw damper? It only controls the yaw. So if only the yaw D drops out, you only adjust the rudder trim. Basically, the trim you adjust matches exactly what the system was controlling. Boom. So the crucial point tying everything together is this golden rule, which perfectly mirrors the final step across every single one of the 4 scenarios we just covered. Whether it's an AP disengage, a YD disengage, an AP fail, or an AP/YD fail, the very last step is always exactly the same. Wait to see if the message goes out. If it does, you can re-engage as required. Having this uniformity is your absolute best friend in the cockpit.
By visualizing these exact steps directly from the manual and locking in the memory tricks we just went over, action for disengage, wait for fail, and the trim trick, you can master these procedures effortlessly. You now have the exact blueprint to react safely and accurately. So, thinking back to those flashing red lights on the PFD, the only question left to ask is, are you ready for the hot seat?